To follow his dreams, my ex-fiancé dumped me over text a week before our wedding. Years later, he returns, hoping to rekindle old love. But I have a twist for his delusional scenario. Hi, so I, 30 female, was engaged to my ex-fiancé, Felix, 34 male, when I was 26, so almost 4 years ago. We were supposed to get married 3 years ago, but he dumped me through text a week before the wedding and took off to Germany, where he had been offered his dream job. Felix and I met each other through friends and had been together for 3 years before he proposed to me, and we got engaged. Felix was a zoology major, and he'd been working here as a professor when we met. But I always knew that his dream was to do something great with his life and contribute to the world with whatever he studied, which is really noble. So, when he was offered the position of a research specialist for a new study in his field, he accepted the position and moved away without even talking to me. A week before the wedding, he and his friends were supposed to go to Hawaii for his bachelor trip, but he never showed up at the airport. It was only several hours later that we found out he was in Germany and that he was breaking things off with me because he'd received a job offer there, which he absolutely had to accept. He told me that he knew I wouldn't be able to give up my life, my friends, my family, and my career here, and he didn't want me to sacrifice anything either. He also didn't want to give up on his dreams and stay back for my sake. So, after months of thinking about this, he decided to go by himself and take the leap alone. He didn't want some long, drawn-out goodbye or even a discussion about this, which is why he decided to leave as quickly as he could. He apologized, said that he was sure I'd find someone better than him, and that he was sorry it had to end this way, but his dreams were too important for him to give up on. I really didn't have a problem with his dreams or whatever, but I just wished that he would have at least discussed things with me before making the move and accepting the offer all those years ago. I have always been an architect, and my only motive to work was to earn money and be able to buy myself everything that I wanted. So, I never had any such noble intentions of bringing about change in the world or doing something good for society. I was pretty selfish in my interests, which is why I guess I didn't understand his priorities. Or maybe I was just a normal person who knew how important communication was and understood that you shouldn't lie to your fiancé and then dump them through text a week before the wedding. But either way, after we broke up, we didn't keep in touch, obviously, and all our friends cut him off as well. He and I had been great while we were together, and the breakup had literally come out of nowhere. So, even though I tried to be okay with it, I really wasn't, and I completely broke down in the few weeks following the breakup. Felix paid off all the vendors for the wedding as an apology, and I didn't have to spend a dime on anything. So, I didn't have any reason to talk to him either, and our last conversation ended up being the breakup, which I'd go through almost every day after he left. We had been living together for quite some time before he moved away, and a few weeks after he broke up with me, his cousin, Sam, 32 male, came by to pick up his belongings since he had left a lot of things behind because he didn't want to make me suspicious. I'd met Sam before at a couple of his family get-togethers, but we weren't close, and neither were Sam and Felix close. But apparently, nobody else from the family was talking to him, and he'd offered Sam $2,000 to have his stuff sent to him. Sam was a guitarist in a band that was still struggling to make a name for itself, and he needed the money, so he accepted the offer to get the job done. When Sam came over to the house to gather the last of Felix's belongings, I stayed out of his way, but I think I must have looked really depressed. Instead of just taking the things and leaving, he decided to stay with me for a while and talk to me. I wasn't feeling very talkative, but he didn't leave until I had told him everything about how I was feeling. Once I started, I just couldn't stop. It was embarrassing, but I ended up crying in front of him, and he comforted me throughout. He let me cry all my feelings out, and then he told me that I had to be strong. He also said that Felix was an idiot and didn't know what he had lost, which made me feel considerably better about myself because Felix's leaving had completely shattered my self-worth and confidence. That day, Sam even gave me his number and told me to contact him anytime I felt like I needed someone to talk to, and then he hugged me goodbye. It was a really sweet thing for him to do, even though he had no reason to. He was just there to gather his cousin's things, and it wasn't even like we were close, but he still seemed to care about me, and that's what really touched me about him. We stayed in touch, and we ended up becoming really good friends in a couple of months. He was actually the one who helped me feel happy again, and I don't think I could have recovered from that heartbreak had Sam not been with me every step of the way. He would convince me to leave my house, go to work, and even hang out with my friends on the weekends instead of sitting at home and moping or drinking. But he would also understand when I just had to take some time for myself and would come over on those days and just silently be there with me. I didn't even realize when I fell in love with him. Over time, he started spending more and more time at my place instead of his own. Someday, 2 years ago, he came to my house and then never left. So, that's how we ended up moving in together. Even though most people would say that it was weird and rushed, I wouldn't say that because I really do love him and we're even married now. So, I think we're meant to last. We moved in together, and eventually, at the beginning of this year, we decided that it was time we got married because of several practical and legal benefits. It was a small and intimate ceremony that not a lot of people knew about, and that's exactly how we wanted it. Everybody in his family and all my friends had been told not to divulge any of this information to Felix. We didn't want him to know about any of this because he would definitely find it really weird that I was getting married to his cousin, and I honestly didn't want to deal with the drama. Even Felix's parents had been invited to the ceremony since they had been really nice to me even after our breakup, and they had blessed our union. They'd also promised me that they would keep this a secret from Felix, but I'd been doubtful since they had been in touch with him and had forgiven him within a couple of months of our breakup. I didn't hold that against them, he was their only son after all, but thankfully, everybody stuck to their promises, including his parents, and made sure that Felix didn't find out about our marriage. It's been a few months, and it's been marital and domestic bliss for me and Sam. I found out that Felix was right when he said that I had somebody better in store for me. Everything had been going well, but then last week, Felix showed up at my doorstep out of the blue, and it really took me by shock because I hadn't been expecting him. We hadn't spoken ever since our breakup, and it had been 3 years since then. After that, he hadn't bothered to talk to me or check up on how I was doing, and I never reached out to him either. He had come back to visit home for the holidays a couple of times, which is what some of our common friends told me, but we hadn't met, and neither had he met any of our friends. However, this time, he decided to come talk to me. Instead of contacting me and setting up a meeting with me like a normal person, he showed up at my door with a bouquet. Before I even had the chance to say anything, he apologized for screwing up our relationship and told me that he was now finally ready to work on things and wanted me to take him back. He told me that the study he had been working on had turned out to be a bust and that they had exhausted all their funds. It was unlikely that they'd be issued a grant again anytime soon, so he quit his job there and came back here for good. He said that he regretted ever letting go of me, especially the way he broke up with me through text. He said that I deserved better after being with him for so long, and I was glad that he had come to his senses, at least on that front. He ended his romantic speech by saying that now that he was back, we could pick up right where we left off and get married as soon as we could because, in his 3 years of staying apart from me, he had realized that I was the woman of his dreams and that he had made a huge mistake by breaking up with me. So, he wanted to give our relationship a real chance this time and get back together. I waited for him to finish his speech and didn't interrupt even once while he was talking because I wanted to see where he was going with this. But when he was done talking, I didn't say much and just showed him the ring on my finger. I informed him that I was already married to Sam, his cousin, who happened to be a billion times better than him, and that his apology was too little, too late. His jaw literally dropped to the ground, and I took that opportunity to slam the door shut in his face and told him to leave before I did that. I was furious afterward and tried to calm myself down until Sam came back home. It was the weekend, and he was out with a couple of his work buddies, so he hadn't been home. His band had broken up a couple of years ago, around the same time we started getting serious, and he had joined his friend's dad in their event management business. If the events they were catering to ever needed a band, he and his friends would regroup and play for them as well. So, it was perfect for him. But anyway, it had been a hard week for him at work because there were a lot of back-to-back events, so this was a well-deserved break, and I didn't want to bother him. I didn't text him or call him to tell him about this until he came back home, and only then did I inform him about Felix's visit. He told me that he had received several calls from his uncle, Felix's dad, but he didn't know what it was about. Since he was out with his friends, he figured that he could just come back and call him. But now that he knew, he felt uncomfortable about the whole thing. He told me that he hadn't really considered how this was going to look to Felix when he found out. I told him that it didn't matter what Felix thought because he was the one who dumped me without a proper explanation or even a goodbye, and his opinion was pretty much irrelevant. After that conversation, we decided to talk to Felix's parents since they had been trying to reach Sam several times while he was out. They had tried to call me as well, but I hadn't really checked my phone because I was annoyed. Once we were on a call with them, they informed us that right after Felix visited me, he went to his parents' place and really flipped out on them because of what he had learned. First, he yelled at them for keeping this a secret from him for so many months, years, if you count the time that we were dating and living together. He accused them and his entire family of betraying him and said that they were all sick in the head for supporting our marriage and allowing this to happen. He said that, apparently, I was a disgusting person to go after his cousin because I couldn't have him and that he was convinced I was just doing this for revenge and that I actually had no real feelings for Sam. He said that I was just using him to make Felix jealous, but the jig was up now, and he wasn't jealous, just disgusted. I couldn't believe that he would say such things about me because not one word of it was true. If I actually wanted to make him jealous, I would have done that way back and wouldn't have waited for him to come crawling back to me only to tell him that I'm married now. Most importantly, I'm not a psycho who's still hung up on him and got married just to make him feel insecure. I have real feelings for Sam, and that's why I'm with him. I don't owe Felix an explanation, so I didn't follow up on this. In the next couple of days, both Sam and I tried to pretend that Felix hadn't come back at all and tried to move on with our lives. But Felix showed up again a couple of days ago, and this time, both of us were at home. The two of us had just returned from work, and when we heard Felix shouting for us, we made our way out and saw him making a drunk scene in the street in front of our house. He was screaming at the top of his lungs about how we had ruined his life, which didn't even make sense because he didn't even know about us until a couple of days ago. As soon as we opened the door and he spotted me, we realized that we had made a mistake. The moment he saw me, he started sobbing violently. He started talking about how he had truly loved me and how he had never stopped thinking about me even when he was living in Germany. The only reason he hadn't reached out to me was because he didn't want to disturb my peace by coming back into my life again. He said that he could make his peace with the fact that I had moved on, but he couldn't come to terms with the fact that I had moved on with his cousin, of all people. He said that I was selfish and inconsiderate and that it was shameless of us to get married knowing about my history with him. At that point, Sam called the police and had Felix taken away, but I couldn't stop thinking about the things that he said. It was really upsetting to see him act that way because he was usually quite a put-together guy, and it was clear to me that seeing me with Sam had really broken him. Sam and I haven't talked about that incident and are pretending that it never happened, but I don't know how much longer we can go on acting like these things aren't happening. To be honest, we had never really considered what would happen once Felix came back, how he would react to this, or what he would have to say about our marriage. Honestly, it shouldn't matter, but for some reason, it does. We were able to ignore my past with him for so long because he wasn't around us, but now that he's back and is making his presence felt, it's becoming more and more difficult for us to ignore that part of my history. Things haven't been awkward between us, thankfully, but we know that there is a lot that is unsaid between me and Sam. I desperately want to talk about this and get it out of the way. At the same time, I can't help but feel that Felix is probably right to be weirded out by me and Sam getting together. If my ex got married to my cousin, I would probably feel the same way. And on top of that, there's also the fact that his entire family was a part of this. They knew about it and never told him, which might have led to a complete breakdown. But that's not really my fault, and yet, for some reason, I keep feeling like it is. So, AETA for marrying my ex-fiancé's cousin after he broke up with me over text just a week before our wedding? Update 1. Hi, so first of all, thank you to everybody who replied to my post and stood with me. It means a lot to me and Sam that so many people are on our side. I will always be grateful to everyone who had such kind things to say about us because we really needed it to get our act together, especially with whatever has been happening with Felix and stuff. It's been a week since he had to be taken away by the cops when he turned up drunk at our doorstep and created a scene. By now, pretty much the entire family knows about it. They made it a point to reach out to us and tell us that we were not in the wrong and that we shouldn't fall for whatever Felix had been saying about us. There is nothing shameless or gross about us falling in love and getting married. In fact, it is anything but disgusting, it's beautiful, and we need to own it instead of letting some low-life loser get to us with his negativity. Everybody has cut ties with him, including his parents, and I couldn't be happier about it. Literally, not even one person from his family is supporting him, and that tells me and Sam everything we need to know. It's perfectly all right for us to get together because it's not like I was cheating on him. He's the one who broke up with me in the worst way possible and Sam healed me, so I have nothing to be ashamed of. I also told my friends about it, and they were on my side too. They said that Felix was just crazy and jealous, and that made me feel a lot better. But even then, Sam and I have decided to get counseling because Felix's return has not been easy for us to deal with as a couple, and we feel like we need to work certain things out. We start in a couple of days. Update 2. Okay, so Felix only gave us 2 weeks to deal with our feelings before he made his next attack, and this time, it happened online. Last time, he insulted us to our faces by turning up at our house drunk and crazy. This time, he felt the need to reach more people and talk crap about us in front of a wider audience. He posted a rant about us online. He accused us of being together just because we wanted to get back at him and said that both of us were failures who couldn't stand to see other people succeed. He claimed we had probably bonded over him and gotten together just out of spite. He even implied that the reason I didn't try to win him back after the breakup was because I had already been involved with Sam and that Felix leaving gave me the perfect out. It was disgusting for him to imply that I'd been cheating on him when he knew very well that wasn't the case. I'd been crazy in love with him, but he was the one who broke things off with me so he could chase after his dreams or whatever. He didn't even deem me worthy of a conversation, and yet he expected me to wait around for him. Talk about entitlement and delusion. I didn't see the post myself because I haven't followed him on any platform ever since we broke up, but a couple of my friends sent it to me. I told them that I'd sue him for slander if he kept it up. They passed on the message, and only then did he take the post down. But then he texted me and told me that I deserved this and called me a very nasty word that starts with W. I really lost it then and told him that if he ever texted me again, I would ruin his life and make sure that he never recovered from it. Even then, he had the audacity to reply and said that I deserved to end up with Sam because he was nothing but a loser who was mediocre with a guitar and completely worthless without it. Then he said that he was pretty sure if I had managed to find someone, then he probably had someone more beautiful than me waiting for him. He said he had no regrets about dumping me, he only wished that he could have done it on the day of the wedding to make me cry a little more. I was shocked that he could even think of these things, let alone say them. I decided to block his number after that, which I hadn't done even in the past couple of years because I never expected that he would text me, and I was definitely not going to text him, so it just slipped my mind. But now he was finally blocked and he had no other way to reach me. If he turns up at my house again, then I will definitely file for a restraining order. Update 3. Hi, so I sent screenshots of my last conversation with Felix to his entire family and all my friends. None of them were talking to him anyway, and those screenshots just made sure that they wouldn't talk to him ever again. Everybody was just as shocked as I had been when I saw those texts, and it all made sense when his parents told us that he had taken up drinking in Germany. Apparently, he was telling the truth about not being able to move on from me even when he was staying there. Because of that, along with his unsuccessful research project, he started hitting the bottle and now has a serious addiction. It explains his behavior, but it doesn't excuse anything. His parents told us that he had been living in a hotel, but they decided to bring him back home because they were afraid they would lose him otherwise. They apologized to both of us on his behalf for everything and said that they had to take care of him because he was their only child, and they couldn't live with themselves if they abandoned him. Honestly, we can understand where they're coming from, and we really don't want to hold it against them. Ultimately, they are his parents, and he has nobody to count on but them. I don't think any of us would want something to happen to him, no matter what kind of person he is. His parents are nice people. They have always been kind to me and have stood up against him when he messed up. So, if they want to help him out, I respect that. Sam and I are more in love than ever, and marriage counseling has made us stronger than ever. In fact, we've even started thinking about a baby and finally starting a family together. I'm in talks for a promotion, and with a better salary, we can move into a bigger house with a better location. So, that's how it's going for us, and we hope it only gets better now.